All right, welcome everyone who's out here listening to my podcast, Mastering the Numbers. I'm Joe Mallo with Elite Edge Consulting Group. We are powered by Focal Point Business and Executive Coaching. My guest today is Trent Shaffer, President and owner of Shaffer and Associates Insurance. Welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Tell us a little bit about Shaffer and Associates, if you don't mind.
In 2005, I was in a transitional period between management with a company, and I had also been a high school football coach at the time. And the company that I was working for, we merged with another company. I spent a year prior to 2005, so 2004, I spent a year merging those two companies, and it kind of dawned on me that I maybe hit the ceiling here. I wasn't sure where I was going to go. Business background from college, athletic background from college. One of the guys whose son that I coached approached me about getting into the insurance and finance business. And I basically blew him off. And then come 2005, as it turned out, I started Shaffer and Associates Insurance from the scratch, ground up. We were a captive agency at the time. And from there, I dove into the world of entrepreneurship and business owner, and just started running and found some people that could help me along the way. And so we grew that really, really, really hard until about 2013, 2014. And then we kind of just, I'll say we kind of got into cruise mode, and which is detrimental to your business. You shouldn't do that, but we did. I had a lot of other stuff going on at the time. And then just recently, up to 2003, I had sold Shaffer and Associates, and we've now merged. So I sold a large book of business to my captive side, and then some of the business that the captive wouldn't write, we were able to go outside of that world, and so I merged that sort of stuff, which is more niche type commercial business and whatnot. And so I merged that in with All Ohio Insurance LLC. We're still based out of the same place here in Worcester, Ohio. And so that's been going really good. The transition's been somewhat smoother than I anticipated. So I keep looking over my shoulder to make sure we didn't miss anything. But I think, after 20 years of experience, you kind of have all your check marks and boxes that you want to check off. And I'm lucky I have good staff, and they were right along with us, for the transition. They were pro transition, so it made sense to make that move, and it was good for the team. So that was so we're full lines. We sell auto, home, life, and business. We do some health insurance as well, especially on the group side. So we kind of got a little gamut, and now with the independent side, we're we literally work with about 22 different insurance company providers. So we have a lot of flexibility there, but currently, since we're so new to this transition, we're kind of managing all that at this point. Right. And keeping our ducks in a row. But within that 22, some of those are for fuel our niche stuff that we do. And then the other stuff is really the all-encompassing home, auto, umbrella, farm, that sort of thing from a personal line standpoint. So very much more flexible, and very more option driven for our customers. So that's kind of where we're at today. So Shaffer and Associates has kind of grown, and then we, I don't want to use the term dumped it because we're still out there, but we now operate under that All Ohio Insurance LLC brand.
Great. And you said you've been running on the insurance side for about 20 years?
Yes, sir. Yep. We started in May of 2005, so I guess I'm coming up on 19. So okay. Is when I got into that space. Yep.
Right, great. And that's not the only business you're running. So it looks like recently, maybe not so recently, you started another business, Level 11 Fitness and Development. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. So I mentioned earlier that I've been a football coach. I've been a football coach since 2003. So I've kind of done that longer than pretty much anything I've done the rest of my life. And I've always been I've always been driven to motivate others and help others achieve whatever it is athletically they're doing. So I've coached collegiately, football collegiately, a lot of high school. I've even in the beginning I did a little youth time. So I spend a lot of my time in the gym, and just as a personal health standpoint. But what's really kind of driven me was opportunity came at the gym that I go to, or went to, I should say. And me and the owner became really close. We did a lot of business consulting back and forth. He was a younger guy on his, trying to make it on his way up and whatnot. And he, as things do, life changed and he turned to a pivot where married, got kids, and he got back into the business sector. So he's now off running the cybersecurity world. But he offered me the opportunity to buy this gym. And so with the gym, it's a 24/7 gym and it's kind of an old school iron gym, but we've made some changes. So we took that over in June of 2023. And since then, we've made a lot of improvements and a lot of changes to it where we are now. So I'm actually in that coaching space, not just during football season. Now I'm in that coaching space 24/7. We're training athletes. My wife is a physical therapist and an athletic trainer. So we see a lot of post-op people that come in. So we're kind of like there's bodybuilders that come in here, and then there's fitness people that come in, and then there's people who are trying to get back on their feet. So got a lot of flexibility there, and then we're training the athletes, whether they're collegiately, high school, or a little bit younger than that, to just be more functional and kind of understand what goes on in a
Yeah.
place like this. And so, yeah, so we bought that in June, and we kind of hit that ground running. So,
Great.
a lot, a lot of irons in the fire, but I just keep making the fire bigger, so it's no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. A lot of people need that. So, well, I mean, what inspired you 19, 20 years ago to start your own business, go out on your own? And then what inspired you to start a second business, add additional irons to the fire?
Yeah, yeah. So, I'd say early in the beginning, um, when I was when I was out of college and in corporate world, business world, I had an opportunity that I landed with some really good people. And the both companies that I worked with, I had really good people that I worked with when I was out in the field. And then when I transitioned into a different company, that I worked at for almost 7 or 8 years, the president of that company pretty much took me under his wing, and I quickly went from just a maintenance guy or field tech or whatever to management. And then we really started to grow the company. And he uh, mentored me and then pretty much kind of just groomed me into thinking like a business owner, thinking like, and I always put myself in his seat as if, okay, if I was running this company, I only seem to have one option here. Can I find another option that will help me make this decision? So I just always thought business wise, like it was just something that was in
Yeah.
my head. Um, and then when the opportunity came for that company to sell, we did. And I'm not going to scratch myself on the back here, but apparently I'd done well enough that the company we were merging with said, well, he's part of the sale. Like we want him. So
Yeah.
I ended up being part of that sale, and the rest of the staff for that company, they actually went a different direction and stayed
Yeah.
with another firm. So, so I spent a year merging those two companies together and really kind of setting the pace on it. And then I got to the point where I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do here. What's my future look like? I'm still young. So I'm in my late 20s. So I'm like, well, um, it just turned out that something in the business world, started having some conversations about being, my own boss, which I feel is pretty cliche. I mean, I am my own boss, but I'm run by my company sometimes. So, I had to
Right.
learn how to transition that. But I felt like this gave me an opportunity to grow a business, have a sustainable life, and then also allow me to do the things that I like to do, whether that's, spend some time with my family or play golf or coaching. And I've always been in coaching. I tell people all the time, it's a hobby of mine that I get paid for. They don't pay me a whole lot, but I was able to develop that side of my makeup of kind of who I am to the point where I was coaching collegiately for a while. So
Yeah.
I was just kind of a driven person, and that's kind of what I thought. You know what? My dad, I was running this stuff by him, and my dad said, you know, he goes, if you do this right, I'm looking around at people I know that are in the insurance and finance world, and they're not broke. So, and so I was like, well, you're kind of right, Dad. But little did I know at the time the effort that they put in to make sure they didn't go broke.
Right.
And like most of us, they probably almost did a few times. So,
Yeah.
so that was a learning curve for me as well. So, but that's what, that's what I've quickly learned over 20 plus years, what entrepreneurship is. Um, which actually led me to, why would I want to start another business? And this is just something that from the gym aspect and the fitness and development aspect, that coaching side, that mentoring side. A lot of times it's, I can show you how to lift the weights and show you how to do the exercises, but I think the relationships and the conversations that we have are kind of more important. I've been able to put myself in situations where I'm uncomfortable and then work through that uncomfortability to come out on the other side. We try to help people overcome that fear of, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. And if this is uncomfortable to you, that's good. And the only thing I'm going to tell you is just make sure you come back, and we'll take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, momentum happens and they start to feel comfortable, and then the momentum even picks up even more, and then they're off and they're on a fitness journey. Whether they want to be better on the golf course, or whether they want to be able to go outside and play with their kids or grandkids, or just not have to go see the doctor all the time, and the doctor saying, hey,
Yeah.
stop sitting in a chair and lose some weight. Then maybe they get tired of hearing that. We're just a catalyst to help fuel that a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, so starting that business was something that I just felt like was very natural to myself, and the ideas that I had for it, I could see how we could grow and how it can become, profitable for us. And so we dove into that in June of 2023, and I've seen a change with like my own family. My wife's fully invested here with me, but my kids are here. My daughter is a teenager. She comes in here, she works, and so we've kind of got a little employee out of her, and then she works out because she's also an athlete.
Yeah.
Um, so and my son who's 9, he likes hanging out in here, and he has asked to do things we won't let him do yet inside the gym, but
Yeah.
so it's been really good for our family, and it's very
Yeah.
natural. So
Yeah.
being around sports and always being a coach, and with my wife being an athletic trainer, this just made a really good fit, and it wasn't something that I was foreign to.
Yeah.
I don't know that if I was approached to purchase a business that was involving, manufacturing something in a CNC machine, I don't. That's probably not me. I don't.
Right.
That would have been a bigger challenge where all that 100% focus would have needed to go to. Now
Yeah.
with this, it's just natural, and so that's kind of how I got to this point.
Yeah. Well, in both businesses, you're helping people. So, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you're
yep,
you're you're
yep,
help, you're helping them differently, but you're helping them.
yeah, and it's ironic when I'm in the insurance space and I'm having those meetings. People want to talk about their fitness, and when I'm in the fitness world, they want to talk about their insurance. So
Right.
and I try not to bring either one of them up. It just depends on whatever whoever's doing. No one finds insurance entertaining, but
Right.
everyone knows that if you're in the fitness and health world, that's work. So
Right.
there's some sweat equity involved there. So but it just
Yeah.
seems like that's how those conversations and relationships come about.
Yeah. I think it's good. You're just networking with yourself.
Sure. Yeah, pretty much.
So it works. It works. So well, great. Well, so you have these two businesses, ton of work for sure. You got your kids working for you, which kids need to work, so better work for
Yep.
you. Well,
Yep.
what are some common misconceptions about running a business that you want to relay to
Um,
people out there?
yeah, so I'm really we might get off on a tangent here a little bit, Joe. I think running a business is not easy, despite what
No.
Instagram tells people.
Right.
And I think whether you run the business by yourself, if you're a sole owner, or whatever that case may be, you have to have people. And like I mentioned earlier, like I was lucky to have people around me that just kind of, they must have saw something in me and just kind of took me under their wing and helped me formulate my business thinking and how to approach things professionally, and as a profession, and as a professional. So, that was something that was instilled in me early. I run into people all the time, now, especially since I see a wide array of people, and in the insurance space, people call me all the time. They're like, "Hey, I'm starting a business." And I'm like, "Oh, great. What do you know about it?" "Well, my buddy used to do it, and I'm like, "All right, well, how, have you thought through, and then all this, and I don't try to get into their bit, but I need to know their business if I'm going to insure it. And what I've really come to feel is that a lot of people just think it's easy. They're like, well, that guy does it. He owns his own business. Well, that guy's doing it, or she does it, or whatever it is. And there's no real, like, I don't remember those skills ever being taught to me in school. And
Yeah.
and I'm sure they're not being taught now, And if we are going to try to educate ourselves off of Instagram and TikTok, we're going to be in a world of hurt down the road.
Right.
Because when the business gets hard, or when those bills are due, and that income isn't there, but the outcome has to go, you're going to get yourself in some situations. And I think people have some really, really good ideas and have some really, really good ambition. But unfortunately, they get to that and they see 1 month of that, and then they see 2 months of that, and then something good happens and they feel pretty good about themselves. And then they get back to that same situation. They don't talk about that stuff on TikTok and Instagram. They don't talk about the real life, like I damn near went broke,
Yeah.
more than once, and so I think that's a huge misconception, that just people want to get into being their own boss, as you mentioned earlier, like, well, you can be your own boss, but you're going to have to learn how to boss yourself, because
Yeah.
sometimes you're the guy wearing every single hat. And and at some point in time, you got to learn how to take some of those hats off and start to delegate. And then all of a sudden you see on the other side, well, now I got to pay them. Well, I got to pay them. There's taxes, there's workers comp, there's all these other things that people don't think about. And then all of a sudden they're right back where they're at, and they're like, well, now there's no money for me again. Yeah, well, as an entrepreneur or a boss, early in the early going, there is no money for you. So you got
Right.
to learn to
Right.
you got to learn to navigate those waters. And I think that's a huge misconception, because everybody on the social media, wants to talk about how they make $10,000 an hour, and they're a stay-at-home mom. So, and I don't think
Yeah.
that's, I think that's a very deceiving
Yeah.
misconception that people have. And you can't believe everything you see. But some people do dive into it, and then, like I said, they get that discouraged
Yeah.
part, and then all of a sudden what was a good idea, or what could have been very lucrative for them had they stuck through it, fizzles out, whether it's in 1 year, 2 years, or maybe even into the third.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think most business owners have that TikTok reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
$10,000 an hour. I don't think
Yeah.
that's a reality. So,
Yeah.
well, so, when I talk to business owners all the time, even myself over the last 26, 27 years, work-life balance is a hard thing,
Sure.
right? Making sure you're there for the family, being at the kids' sporting events and things of that nature. That's hard with one business. You have two businesses now. How do you try to maintain that work-life balance now that you
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
two businesses, let alone one?
Yep. And I'll start kind of from the insurance side. Insurance and finance, I think, is an industry that drives technology. When COVID hit and they shut us all down, I didn't panic, but my employees were like, "Hey, what are we going to do?" And I'm like, "Well, it's real simple. We use voice over IP, so think for technology. You're going to unplug that phone, and you're going to take that phone home. You're going to plug it into your modem for your Wi-Fi. You're going to make sure your kids are fed and everything's good because they can't go to school. And when the phone rings, you're just going to answer it, Schaefer and Associates or All Ohio, whichever it may be, and they'll never know where you're at. And then we have laptops that we furnish them. And here's the good news: you're going to continue to get paid. So technology has allowed that to happen. And I think after now, where I did stub my toe on this, Joe, is when we did come back to work it dawned on my employees that they could do this from the beach, and that's where they really wanted to go. So we had to kind of put shove that down a little bit and say, no, 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 no. We still have an office. People still want to come see us or whatever. But at any
Yeah.
rate, I think that has allowed some more flexibility. And, I think over time, I'm kind of that gap guy. I'm old school grinder, get up every day, go to work and do your thing, work 10 hours,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And then I'm also in between where I'm like, you know what, we can do this a little easier, a little bit more efficient. And so we've seen, I've been able to make sure that my staff has flexibility, with their kids because that's what I need as well. So from the insurance side, technology is a huge help for us,
Yeah.
and I understand that some industries, whether you're making the parts, for cars or whatever it is, there's really not that flexibility, so they got to be creative to get that work-life balance. As an owner, I actually had somebody send me this quote, and I can't remember exactly who the quote is from, but it had something to do with, um, a man is always working or he's always playing, and when he has it figured out, you can never tell the difference. And she sent me this quote and whatever, and she's like, I have no idea if you're at work or not working, and I'm like, well, I'm always working and I'm always playing. I'm always trying to have, and I'm trying to, balance both worlds. When I get into that football season, though, that's where I'm now dedicated and responsible for young adults, and that's a big responsibility. And luckily for me, my wife is in that space also,
Yeah.
and our kids are around that as well. So our family time is sometimes spent watching dad coach and then seeing me pregame or postgame or what have you, or practices or whatnot. And then that has also transitioned over to the gym life that we live in. Number one, it's nice and convenient. We're less than it's a 12-minute walk from my house to the gym. So we're real close to it.
Yeah.
And just by the setup that we have, that was a family decision. Knowing that I wouldn't be able to run everything on my own and do everything on my own, that was a sit down with the family and my wife, and we had many conversations about, if we do this, we are doing it. And if we do it, then where are we going to take it to? And so once we figured out that both of us are all in, and the kids were like, "Oh, this will be cool," like not that they, really understand the whole thing. Everybody was on board with it. So that has
Yeah.
helped our work-life balance. I get people all the time that ask me, do you go on vacations? And I'm like, I literally would take a business meeting out of town. I'll stay an extra day. I'll call that vacation, but we do try to get away with our family, a couple times a year. Whether it's just around some cool lakes in Ohio or someplace, or we get to Pittsburgh, or, over to Pennsylvania, or we go see family or whatnot up
Yeah.
in Michigan or what have you. And then we try to get to that beach world every few years. But that's really not like some households are all driven towards, that
Right.
vacation life or whatever. And we've not deprived our kids from seeing the ocean and, doing that sort of thing. But it's just not really like we just all like to get away.
Right.
Our backyard is kind of set up where we have a fire pit and a TV, and our whole neighborhood ends up at our house on the weekends. And we went on a little journey this past summer. And what we do? We stayed in the cabin, we lit a fire, we hung out. And I'm like, we do this at home, So that was natural to us. We just did it in a different setting near a big body of water. So we've been able to manage that pretty well. Haven't had to miss, any of their sports activities, and so you just got to keep the energy up and
Yeah.
make sure those priorities are tops on the list. So
Yeah. That's great. Well, it's wherever you like to go, right? Some people like to go to the beach, some people don't. Some
sure,
people want to go every year, some people don't. Whatever,
absolutely,
whatever you and your family like to do, that's all that matters. As long as you're getting away with the family,
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely, yeah.
that's what I always say. So, well, you have the two businesses. Can you offer us a glimpse into the future a little bit? Where do you see the two businesses going from here?
Yeah, so we actually just had this little since we just transitioned over to the on the insurance side from Schaefer and Associates to the All Ohio. We did that for a strategic purpose. And that strategic purpose was we have a way to expand and be more flexible with our customers, and we have the ability to offer more in terms of products and solutions to what is perceived their problem. And so that was a strategic move that we wanted to make, that we felt that we weighed out all the options, and we were able to get into that side of it, knowing that we can take this thing and grow it. And I don't want to use the term with minimal effort, but with minimal trial and error, I think is probably a
Right.
better way to put it. Since I've come so far on the other side of it, but now we've kind of got it figured out. Well, at least we think we do, until the industry changes, and then we'll have to adapt again or whatnot. But I think we see the ability to grow that very well. And continue to bring in some more staff. And I'm not a big um, I'm not big in on watching a you know an employee walk away because we're bringing in an AI from a technology standpoint that can answer the phone or do some things for us or what have you. That's literally a loss of job for someone. But I'm also very cognizant of the fact that sometimes other businesses they're willing to downsize the staff, and they're willing to bring in technology to replace a staff member in certain aspects, whether it's on the marketing side or just answering the phones or whatnot. And they're willing to let somebody else go find a job somewhere else. And so I've had those conversations with my staff, saying, listen, I we have to be able to adapt, and if we feel like we're going to grow, we may have to dive into that world a little bit until we can bring actually a human in and get them trained where we grew the business to that point. So
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit of foresight there,
Yeah.
that I've tried to make sure that we're on par with. So I foresee the insurance industry growing. The Obviously, everybody can sit there and say, well, yeah, of course you have to have it, auto insurance or whatever. And that's one thing. But I think with the way we do it, and the ability to offer the options, and then the follow up, and the follow up is after the sale, but the bigger follow up is when you renew. And we have conversations with those customers a lot. They get touched probably 4 different ways upon their renewals, and we kind of lay out a map. And some of those customers are like, hey, only call me if it just goes crazy, or only call me in a couple of years, because I'm a loyal guy. Don't
Yeah.
screw it up. I won't screw it up, and that's fine. But I think, given that how we have this all set up now, and technology again helps us out with that, like, we can literally grow to the point where the new generations that are coming in, they don't this is kind of cool what you and I are doing with this little podcast thing or whatever, because podcasts are real popular. However, to
Yeah.
sit down across from each other at a desk and have a business conversation, they're not really in that world. So
Right.
they prefer to do business via text message or email. So we've
Right.
seen we've seen our conversations and the way we do things have to shift towards that, because the mid 20-year-olds, or the latter 20-year-olds, early 30-year-olds are starting to buy houses, starting to buy, grow
Yeah.
families, build families, and they go do all the research before they actually make an attempt to reach out to you anyway. So, our thing is, what can we help you with? Or what don't you understand about what it is, why you need this, or what have you. So
Yeah.
that approach, I think, is going to help us in the long run. Just because we're able to have those conversations and be able to do that stuff via technology wise, to get the education of the insurance out. And then obviously just ultimately, hey, we're looking to find you the best coverage for the best price. That's what we're always going to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I don't think that's really different from any other insurance people. Just,
Mm.
that's something we talk about every day.
Yeah.
So, I think that's how I foresee the growth there. I have seen agencies starting to go. People are getting out of retirement. They're not sure, what the world is right now. So, maybe down the road some acquisition stuff could happen for us, just to expand that. But our footprint here in Ohio is we're on all 4 corners. We have customers everywhere, literally. And we've been asked to go into some other states, and that may be something that we um entertain down the road if we feel like it's a viable and a lucrative
Yeah.
option. So, we see that growth. Well, we're pretty happy with where we're headed.
Right.
Just shortly out of the gate and what we can do and just the flexibility that we have. So,
That's great.
from the gym standpoint, it's kind of a revolving door. It's kind of ups and downs, but um, we've been able to take this gym that was essentially just four walls and some equipment, and you buy a membership and you come in and you use my stuff, and then when you're done, we'll clean up after you. That was kind of how the gym was ran before we bought it. And this is where the development part came into play when we started this out was, I was actually a member of the gym that I bought for 4 years before I bought it. And I've been a member of other gyms because that's always been something in my life. And the one thing that dawned on me, I'm like, you know what? The gym's never given me anything back. Like I pay my dues, I pay my month, and it's given me my fitness, and it's probably in more ways than one giving me my mental clarity. It's like my therapist. However, what we were able to do is we came in and we wanted to build the community of the gym members. So first thing we did out of the gate was we just started our own little group page where we can talk back and forth, and it was a little bit of a sounding board, wasn't meant to be that way. And we've gotten away from that now where we just talk about new things we're doing in the gym or whatnot.
Right.
But then we started getting some people back into the gym with offering them an opportunity to use the gym as a fitness platform for them. And so we do these challenges inside our gym, and the challengers win money. So we're expanding in that regard. So number one, you come in with a challenge, and we kind of have it kind of set up in levels of this, and this. And if you do that over a period of time, number one, you're going to see your energy level go up. You're going to see your fitness come into play. You might lose some weight, but aesthetically, you might change your body. And if you reach your goals, we'll pay you back. So and then at that point in time, there's more conversations to be had. But this is where so now we have people in the gym, they're in here together. They're like, oh, you're a 5 a.m. lifter, so am I. And they're on these journeys. It's always you versus you when you come in the gym, but it's nice that they have someone there with them.
Yeah.
And otherwise they would have probably never spoke that much.
Right.
So but now we're doing this together and we're sharing nutrition facts, and we do nutrition coaching with them and try to get that part under there, and they realize that it doesn't have to be uh you know tofu and ramen noodles every day, and so we do a lot of that, and now there's conversations about that sort of thing. One of the things that we kind of um just by pure happenstance when we bought the gym, I had a gal come to me who has had 5 knee injuries. She's had certain multiple surgeries, but she's had 5 major knee injuries, and she came and said, "Listen, I want to be able to go outside and play basketball with my daughter. I want to be able to go and maybe coach her team and be able to be mobile like that again." And she was, so we actually started working in July, and now she's full running, jumping, cutting,
Wow.
and we've gotten her strength. In the meantime, Joe, she lost 60 pounds. So
Yeah.
that will also help your knees, by the way. But
Of course.
that was a result of her trying to get to her goal, which is
Yeah.
in April to be able to go and play basketball full court up and down the court.
Yeah.
Dealing with those injuries that she's had. So um, now, as that has turned out, we are now like the place where people go for that extra. Like, hey, I had hip surgery, I had shoulder
Yeah.
surgery, or I'm working with 2 knees right now, so or 2 more knees, so that's 3 total, and
Yeah.
that's kind of just been something that we've done that I didn't foresee doing, but being around athletics my whole entire life, and then my wife being actually a physical therapist and a trainer, we're like, well, this is what we do. Like we like this is what we know.
Yeah.
So that's been something that we've kind of pushed towards, and so she's really starting to kind of run with that a little bit. And like I said, I have a few of my clients that we're really honing in on that sort of thing right now. But athlete development part was something
Yeah.
that the gym didn't offer. It offered lifted weights and that sort of thing, and so we've expanded the gym to the point where we can you know, uh, get athletes in here to do their things, whether that is,
Right.
whether that, whatever sport that is, I've coached a lot of them, and then I've coached virtually everywhere on the football field. So I know those positions, and kids,
Right.
from a football standpoint, you don't just get to go do drills and, there's no place to do that really. It's very hard
Right.
to find, and you can't do it when there's 2 foot of snow outside. So we're
Right.
able to offer that, and that's where we see the development part of the gym expanding. And that's your
Yeah.
development, so, and
Right.
everyone's different, but
Yeah.
that's been our big focal point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, once again, both companies are out there helping people, and I think that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
So
yeah. And internally it feels good too. We're,
I bet it does.
what I, from a competitive standpoint, when people have bad days or we don't get the result that I thought we were going to get, I feel down, and I'm like, you know what, we got to come back hard, and we'll get this the next training session or whatever it is. But from a triumph standpoint, when we see the people working hard and they start to feel that satisfaction,
Yeah.
that's worth every cent of the ounce of sweat that you put into it.
100%. 100%. Wait, last question for you. What advice do you give, or would you give aspiring entrepreneurs, someone that's just right on the edge of maybe starting a business and they're just not sure if they should make that leap?
Yep. So you was probably may say this as well, but I always tell people, like, in your life, there's people that you need. You need an accountant, you need an attorney, you need an insurance guy, and you need mentors, and you need to find somebody who's done it, or who, and don't look at them as your competition, but look at them as, man, you're killing it in this space. How do I get started? What are just a couple key tips that I need to know? And you'll know if that person is the right person because they'll follow back up with you and say, "Hey, how's it going? I haven't talked to you in a month or so. How's things? What did you decide to do on that?" And if you don't get that feedback from someone, then you got to go find another one. And I'll be honest with you, I have trouble finding mentors myself. I have trouble finding, because they look at me sometimes as competition. And so sometimes some of my best mentors are people that own businesses and do different things.
Yeah.
Or they coach other sports in another state, if you will. And so those people are conversations that we have, and I try to keep those people around just to bounce ideas off of them, just to talk about the struggles. And then you got, and part of that is being brutally honest. Being brutally honest. Like, on the outside of this building, it looks like we make $1 bazillion a day. All right. On the inside, when I look at the numbers, we're far, 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 far from that. And that might be where we want to go. But being brutally honest is, we slipped up, man. We slowed down on our marketing. We got slow on, converting potential leads into sales. And that runs in both the gym world and in the insurance world. Um, and people learn about other aspects of technology and ways to do things that, you can't do it all. So you got to be able to be like, I own my business, but I have a team of people that have helped me get to where I'm at. So I
Yeah.
would say that is huge in terms of, asking questions, having, the right people in your corner, and go find those people that you can trust. That, you got to have an attorney, an accountant, and a finance guy, and an insurance guy. You need that too. We're always the last to know, by the way, on the insurance side. They've talked to the attorney, he's drew the paperwork up. They've talked to the banker. That's another person you got to have in your corner. Everything's ready to go, and then they call you and like, "Hey, I'm starting a business. We're going to get this thing off the ground tomorrow, and I've never done it before, but here I am. What do I need to know?" And we're like, "Oh, time out. I'm going to want to burst your bubble here, but this might get a little slower than tomorrow." So,
Right. Right.
from an insurance standpoint. So, yeah, and those people need to talk together. You be able to have that conversation to talk with each other and
Yeah.
make sure that you, as a business owner, are headed in the right direction. Certainly
Yeah.
makes your life a lot easier when you take that approach first,
For sure.
as opposed to try to do it on the backside.
For sure.
So, ducks in order, I guess, maybe is kind of a way you want to look at
Yeah.
that, and brutally honest with yourself, and find people that you can talk to. And I'm still always looking for people that I can just sit down and, have a cocktail with and a cigar and just talk, or how are
Yeah.
you doing it? Or, whatever that case may be, it's on the golf course or whatever it is. I think something that I'm always looking for because I know that's what I had before I even knew I had it, getting starting in the business world.
Right, right. That's great advice. Listen, Trent, I really appreciate you being on this call. I'm glad we had a chance to
Yeah.
spend some time together, and I'm glad I had a chance to hear about both your businesses. If any of the listeners want to hear about either Schaefer and Associates Insurance or Level 11 Fitness, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so it's real easy. We just got a number that you'd call for both of them. Really, it rings directly into our box, and the phone number is just 330-439-0031. And it comes right into a direct line that ends up actually hitting me. And I do business from both sides of that. I always want to be accessible. You can go to our website at level11-fitness.com or allohioinsurance.net and look us up online as well. There's contact ways to contact us through that as well.
All right, perfect. All right, everybody, reach out to Trent. And once again, thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for listening to Mastering the Numbers. We'll catch you next time. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Uh, Thank you.